Hi everybody, Livingston County Sheriff Mike Murphy here. So last week I came out publicly and said that we were not going to enforce any of the governor's executive orders. And that created some discontent with some people. So I wanted to come out and tell my side of the story. And I'm not doing this to change your mind. I just want you to understand that this decision was not made in a vacuum, in the logic behind the decision. So most of the emails came in one of three categories, or one of three themes, I guess. One, the county commission should tell me that I have to enforce the executive orders. Two, that this is politically motivated. And three, that I should not pick and choose what laws we enforce. So let me address those real quick. One, I do not work for the Livingston County Board of Commissioners. I work with them. I work for the people of this county. I was elected by the people of this county. Two, we do choose every day what laws to enforce or not enforce. It's called discretion, right? So if I were driving down the road and I see you driving down the road as well at 56 miles an hour in a 55 mile an hour zone, using your logic, then I should stop you and pull you over and write you a ticket. Or maybe you're going 60 miles an hour and I pull you over and you say, well, hey, here's the reason I'm speeding. Sounds like a legitimate reason to me. Makes sense. I get it. You got a good, clean driving record. I use the discretion not to write a ticket. So essentially, when you use that logic or that argument, then you're saying that we should write tickets for everything all the time. And quite frankly, there's a lot of antiquated laws that are on the books that, in my opinion, shouldn't be on the books, but we never look at anyway. So we do pick and choose what laws we enforce. Of course we do, and it's called discretion. So I'm using my discretion to not enforce the governor's orders. Now, hopefully by the end of this, you'll at least understand why I came to that conclusion. You might not agree with it, but at least you'll have a little bit of background. So, and then the third was this is politically motivated. This is not politically motivated. I would make the same decision if it was Governor Snyder in the Capitol. So, at any rate, and again, hopefully by the end of this, you'll see that as well. So, here we go. When this whole thing started, and the governor issued the first set of executive orders, we got it. And by the way, those were supposed to be investigated by the Attorney General's office. That lasted about a hot second, and the Attorney General said, oh, hey, we're overwhelmed, we can't do this, contact your local law enforcement agency. So we, local law enforcement, found out that we were going to do the enforcement at the same time the public did. But what did we do? We buckled up. We said, you know what? Not real happy about it, but okay, we get it. We'll do it. We'll play ball. And we did. We did that for a month. We answered those complaints. We went to the calls for service. We tried to educate people. Everybody was in a lockdown mode. Everybody was fearful. You know, we got all that. So we did our job. And frankly, just like any investigation, when you do it, it takes twists and turns, right? It goes down different paths unexpectedly sometimes. And that's exactly what's happened with COVID. So when this first hit the scene, we had no clue. But as we get further and further into this, we know more about it. We know how it works. And the enforcement end of things is the same way, in that these orders have come out and changed over time. As a matter of fact, there's been 78 orders issued to date. Now, if you do the math, that's like one a day. So you see how confusing this gets, and couple that with the fact that the last round of orders, the governor extended her own power without the legislator's approval. There's, I think, at least 17 lawsuits pending at the state level. There's lawsuits pending at the federal level to see if this thing is even legit. And then you, on top of all that, you're asking my men and women to enforce these orders. Like I said, 78 of them. Some of them have rescinded others in whole or in part. To make it more confusing, you have pages and pages and pages of frequently asked questions that seem to give the law or the lay of the land but are not in the executive order. So for example, I go ticket a boat that is running, this is under the previous executive order, I go out and I ticket a boat that's operating with a motor, and I get hauled into court, and the judge says, what are you doing? Hey, I'm upholding the executive order. The governor said you can operate a boat, but you can't operate a boat with a motor. And I hold up this executive order that nowhere in that executive order does it say that you can't have a motor. She mentioned that in the press conference. She mentioned it in her frequently asked questions, but it was not in the order. So I'm supposed to uphold an order that's not clear and concise, that's based on, you know, frequently asked questions. So, ton going on with this thing. So, last week I reached out to our prosecutor. Well, I've been in contact with them the whole way, but asked him the question, are these really enforceable? The answer was I would be very, very, very careful when doing the enforcement, because there is a ton of ambiguity in the executive orders. And they've changed so much, and of course there's question now whether or not the governor even had the authority to extend the orders. So that's the answer I get from the prosecutor's office, who's going to do the prosecution here at the local level, obviously. I reached out to our civil attorneys, the ones that are going to defend me, my deputies, and the county should we get sued. And the answer I got from them, and even other civil attorneys around the state, has been, dude, this is a bad bet. If you take enforcement action, I can pretty much guarantee you're going to get sued. I can pretty much guarantee that you're going to be found responsible. I can pretty much guarantee that you're going to be writing a check. So it made no sense to me to put my men and women in a position that was really a no-win. Probably the prosecutor's office wasn't going to charge it. Probably going to get sued. Probably going to cost us a few bucks. And here's the other thing that nobody wants to talk about, right? So this is a 90-day misdemeanor. In the criminal world, that is as low on the totem pole as you can be, and it be considered criminal. So what's going to happen when we get back to normal, whatever that is, and the courts open up? All of these cases, these executive order violations, all of them are going to get dismissed. I can say that with almost all certainty. The court is not going to be jammed up, since they've been off for the last 2 months basically doing only emergency stuff. The court's not going to get jammed up with their docket in messing around with these 90-day misdemeanors. It's going to be just like marijuana, right? So once marijuana became legal, everything that was in the system got dismissed. That's exactly what's going to happen with these executive orders. I can all but assure you that. And here's the other thing. The naysayers out there act like I'm the only enforcement arm that's out there. That's not true. The Attorney General's office is out there. If they want to do the investigation and they want to cite people, go for it. The State Health Department, if they want to go out and cite people, go for it. That's totally within their prerogative. But I got an idea that they're a little hesitant to do anything too, because they see the big quagmire that has been created here. So I'm not political on this. I'm not a pro-business. I'm not a pro-not-business. I'm not pro or con one way or the other. I'm a sheriff making the best decision I can for the men and women of my office and the county as a whole, and using a little bit of common sense here. So I don't want to see anybody get sick. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. I'm very, very sympathetic to that. But like I said before, we know a lot more about this virus than we did 2 months ago, 3 months ago, yesterday, for crying out loud. So my pledge, or my ask of you is to be safe, use common sense, you get back to good personal hygiene, use social distancing, use your mask, use your gloves, do all of those things that are being recommended. And that will keep you safe. Me deciding whether or not to enforce an executive order isn't going to do anything to keep you safe. I guess it's just that simple. So hopefully you can at least understand why I made the decision that I did. You might, again, still not agree with it, but at least you understand. By the way, if I didn't mention, there's a couple of, there's an email with some good information in it, and there's an opinion from a civil attorney that represents municipalities. It was actually authored to the Berry County Sheriff's Office that you'll be able to access here. So you can do a little bit of your own research and see a little more in depth as to why that decision was made not to do the executive order. So all that being said, all of my Facebook, all of my website videos, they're a one-way push, you guys. So if you're mad, so be it. If you're happy, so be it. But I'm not going to respond to the stuff. That's just, again, I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I'm not going to be trolled. But I felt that it was important enough to get this information out there. So hopefully you at least understood why the decision was made that I made. So that's it. I hope you have a great week.